If you want to learn how to paint a beautiful watercolor landscape with non-traditional methods, watch this video. Hi, welcome to this painting demonstration. Today we're going to be working on a winter landscape. And when I do watercolor painting, because I'm self-taught, I use a lot of non-traditional materials that people don't typically use in watercolor. And I also listen to punk rock a lot. Some people tell me I can or can't do something. I love to say no. That's my answer for everything. So when I started this watercolor, this started my advanced watercolor class. I started with masking fluid in certain areas to protect the white of the paper. And masking fluid you apply on dry paper. Any type of masking fluid will work for this process. And then once the masking fluid is dried on the paper, the color can't get onto the paper. So what you can do is you can paint around it very quickly. So I start with just kind of loose shapes. And then what I do is I go into here once that's dried, and I start to take out some of the shapes using a combination of a brush. Oil brushes work really well for this because they agitate the color that's on the paper a little bit better. They pull the color off the paper. And then I use things called the Incredible Nib, which is sold by Graphics. It's designed for use with masking fluid, but what it is it's a wood composite, and it's really good for lifting color off of the paper instead. You lift the color off, you use the nib, get it slightly wet, put it on the paper, get it wet, go back and forth and agitate the color, and that pulls it off the paper. Then you can use a paper towel to get it off of the paper, because the nib itself doesn't actually absorb anything. And it's a combination of putting some color down, taking color off, putting more masking fluid on top of it, going back with the brush to lift off color, wet the paper again, put thicker paint, less water back down again. And what it does is over time it starts to create this beautiful three-dimensional, it builds it up and makes it start to look three-dimensional. So I put more masking fluid down again, lift more color off, and I just go back and forth until it looks to me three-dimensional. Masking fluid, of course, because it's liquid plastic, you got to be careful with the stuff. Don't spill over your car or your clothes or anything. But it's because it's liquid, if you put it down on top of already existing dried color, it is going to pull off a little bit of the color, but it also gives you harder edges. And that's what I like when I'm working with watercolor. I'm constantly thinking about edge quality. Masking fluid is going to give you hard edges. If it's dry on the paper, you can put color around it. If you use Incredible Nib, it's going to give you a softer edge. If you use a thirsty brush or like an oil painting brush, that's going to give you an even softer edge. So you really can create a sense of depth through just the edge quality alone. And I just go back and forth. And once I start painting these guys, I don't even look at the reference image anymore. I just kind of use my imagination, trying to make it look three-dimensional. And you can see it slowly gets built up over time. It just takes a lot of work. This is a time-lapse video, and I think in the time-lapse video is over, 5 minutes? And it takes a picture like every minute, so you can kind of figure out how long that took me. It took me a long time. And when I paint, I'm constantly turning my painting back and forth and around, so I'm keeping my hand out of the wet areas. And that's why this jumps so much back and forth between orientation here, is because I had a nightmare trying to edit this video too. I had to go back and cut the things like 100 times to get to certain the orientation correct, because I was constantly turning the picture around. And yeah, so I take off the masking fluid, I put more down, and I'm not using that many colors. I'm pretty much sticking to my yellows and reds. I do have a lot of blue in here though, because if you want to make dark colors, at some point in time, you got to throw blue into there, in things like burnt sienna. So now I'm working on the details, the darker areas, the tree trunks, make those come forward. Those, of course, are going to have harder edges. Things with harder edges appear to be coming closer towards us. It's atmospheric perspective. Continue to lift off a little bit of the shapes, get things push and pull. Go back with the brush, agitate, dry things. Now I'm using a razor blade, and I'm actually cutting back to the white of the paper with a razor blade. And I know that sounds crazy and scary, but I use like snap blades you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot. And those are great for scratching back to the white of the paper and the surface. Now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get the sun streaks coming through. And so I use a flat brush, and I was lifting off color. And what you do is you come in with a flat brush with some water. You go back and forth and agitate the color that's on the paper. And what that does is it lifts it off. Then you dab with a paper towel. And after all this time, here is the finished and completed painting. If you like this content, hit subscribe. I'll have more watercolor tutorials in the future. Thanks a lot and happy painting.